Everyone, and good evening. I'm Laura Goldman, and I'm the dietitian with Premier Weight Loss, coming to you this evening with another GLP-1 and nutrition related topic that hopefully can help you with your nutrition related concerns or needs to make sure that you can have the best outcome while you're on your weight loss journey. And today's topic is covering the nutrition around the day of your GLP-1 injection. If you've been taking this for a little while, you may notice that your hunger, your appetite, and maybe some of your side effects differ. The initial day of new dose to the day before. And so we're going to talk about how to plan to maximize your overall wellness, nutrition, and to get you to your goal. As always, every week I like to say that we should remember that it's the quality of our calories that matters. And especially when we're planning specific nutrition around times where our appetite might be a little less, then it's even more pronounced. And we'll look at how to pick those high quality foods. So briefly, we will cover why your days around that injection may be a little bit different, might make you feel different. Some basic food planning for before and afterwards, the importance of hydration, a couple of challenges for the week that are related to these topics. And I always like to leave some time at the actions that you make. So why are we focusing on the day of your GLP-1 dose and maybe the day after? I'm sure you already know that GLP-1 medications can slow gastric emptying and can act on appetite centers in your brain. And that is definitely part of why it can be so successful in helping people reach weight loss. But your body may react kind of strongly to it, especially the first day or so. And some of this decrease in appetite may show itself as nausea, and for some people, vomiting. And so I did find this result of some surveys where they checked in with over 1,200 people and wanted to see about how many were actually reporting side effects from using these medications. And you can see over 50% of the respondents mentioned nausea. Thankfully, the majority of those respondents reported that as mild, but it is still one of the more common side effects you may experience. And it's not pleasant, and it can also lead people to maybe avoid eating, which is not what we're looking for. So it's always good to plan ahead and be prepared before you get your next dose to sort of get in the mindset of what side effects you have experienced, if any, and how to work around that to benefit you. So I picked an arbitrary day like Friday as the day that you might give yourself a dose. And so on Thursday, that would be the time where your appetite might be at its highest, right? Because now you've gone basically an entire week since your last dose. And so this is the time where you can actually use that extra appetite to your advantage. Try and focus on those meals being higher in protein, lower in fat, and also focusing on hydration. That sort of banks some of that healthiness, because maybe the next day your appetite will be very low and your choices will be minimal. And I want to be clear, you can't exactly store protein to use as needed. Otherwise, people could just eat a massive dose of protein on one day and have it just work out. But having extra protein the day before be beneficial because, again, within this 24 hours, your appetite might be lower. You can at least feel good knowing that you made some very healthy choices ahead of time. Also, you want to be well hydrated before you take your dose because our thirst sensitivity can also decrease. And remember that smaller meals can help with minimizing GI side effects. I'm sure there have been times in your life where you've thought, am I hungry or am I nauseated? Because sometimes you can feel nauseated when you're very hungry. And even though you might not have feelings of hunger, that lack of intake may more strongly pronounce any nausea that you may have. Now, looking at the following day, so after your dose, some people might want to look for more easily tolerated or gentler food choices. So, since your GI side effects are usually strongest the first day or two after your injection, I really do think it's important that you focus on foods that work best for you. You don't have to try and make a plate that looks like the perfect, well-rounded meal. We want to look for nutritious foods that are going to meet your needs, but that you can also stomach and that sound appealing. So protein does still matter, but just space it out through the day to maximize its benefit. Also, try to avoid anything too terribly high in fat or too high in sugar, because that can also help prevent having additional side effects. That extra fat can sit kind of heavy on your stomach and make it even slower to digest and get through. And sugar can have that nauseating feeling. It's also important to remember that nutrient gaps are the concern, like I mentioned, so having those reliable choices ahead of time can be very helpful. I did give some examples of commonly considered foods that are gentler, but what works for some people might not work for you. I know some people who love eggs and they find it to be very agreeable, and other people find the thought of eggs to be absolutely nauseating. Also, Greek yogurt can be good, and if you don't really like the flavor of that, then adding Greek yogurt to maybe a broth-based soup to increase the protein, but also have a creaminess added, can be very beneficial. For animal proteins, poultry and fish tend to do better just because the red meats are fattier. And then I do give some ideas on non-protein foods like the cooked vegetables instead of raw, sometimes applesauce or even crackers just for a little temporary relief. Protein water I mentioned because some people are sick of the protein creamy drinks that all taste like chocolate or vanilla milkshakes. So there are now clear protein drinks that can provide just as much, usually, protein, and they're very tasty. They don't taste that whey flavor, so they're worth giving a shot as well. Also, I encountered this snack that a friend of mine who's on a GLP-1 really enjoyed consuming, especially when her appetite was lower, which is a simple recipe of protein Jello fluff, where you take that package of sugar-free Jello, any flavor, mix it with half a cup of boiling water, and then whisk that into 1.5 cups of plain Greek yogurt, or mix the Greek yogurt into that. And keep whisking until it sort of smooths out. You can refrigerate it, and very high in protein and very flavorful. And it also doesn't have that thick tartness that some people don't like with Greek yogurt. So those are all worth a try. Moving on to hydration, because that is also very important. It is important to be intentional because, again, your sensation of thirst may be decreased, especially initially after taking a dose. And your GI side effects can absolutely get worse, most notably constipation and nausea as well from some people. The general recommendation are to have 2 to 3 liters of water, so I also put it to 8 to 12.5 cups or more, depending on your level of activity and your needs. Sometimes it's helpful to sip on a schedule, so every 30 to 60 minutes instead of for that thirst. Also, I think some people prefer sipping a little bit throughout the day versus feeling like they have to guzzle a whole bunch all at once. And then sports drinks like Gatorade or any of those, for the majority of people on the majority of days, it's really unnecessary because that is a lot of electrolytes that, unless you're sweating quite a bit, most likely aren't needed. So plain water can generally be all you need. To put into sort of a concise idea here, I did put together this draft of what your routine could look like on the day or night before your injection, and then the morning of, the day after, and then the next couple of days after. So this gives you what to focus on the end, and you need to screenshot it or pick the route for you, but you can see how it focuses on hydration and protein and small today. And with that, we're at the challenges of the week. So the first challenge is to, again, focus on protein first. So this might be the opportunity for you to make a list of high protein foods that you can easily tolerate and that you really enjoy. And so something you can maybe look forward to. And then based off of that list, try to plan some of those foods to be options for you on your injection day and maybe the days surrounding it. If you feel like you've got the protein down pat, though, then look at sipping or making a sipping schedule. So we've all got our smartphones with us these days, and this is the opportunity for you to set some alarms where every 2 hours you are reminded, or every 30 to 60 minutes, reminded to drink a few sips, or if it's more spaced out, maybe a small glass of water or a sugar-free flavored water. And following, going on that type of routine on injection day, and certainly the first 1 or 2 days, if not every day afterward, can be very beneficial as well. To put all this together, we know that GI side effects are very common, but they can also be predictable, and you know when you are going to experience them at their peak. So remember that eating smaller, more frequent meals that are also lower in fat can be very helpful on those days. Protein still and always does remain top of that priority list for you. And remember that hydration is going to also be a high priority. And as you saw at the very end, coming up with this routine, these habits that can really make your injection day and after more predictable. And if you've really dreaded that day because of some of the side effects, then that might make it more enjoyable as well. And now I will leave it open for questions. All right. Well, I hope everyone got some ideas from this presentation and are going to be able to approach their next injection day with a little more confidence and a game plan to have even more success. And if you have any questions, please reach out to the Premier Weight Loss team and they can get you in touch with me. I'm happy to answer questions about this topic or any other nutrition related topic that may come to mind. I hope you all have a lovely evening, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.